Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are heading to the point of nowhere. Seriously, we're going to take a journey to the most extreme, isolated, and kind of surprising spots on, and yeah, even off our planet. We're going to try and figure out what it really means to be remote in a world that feels like it's getting smaller every single day.
All right, let's kick things off with a question that'll, really get you thinking. I mean, we've got satellites mapping everything, planes flying everywhere. In a world like that, where could you possibly go to be the absolute farthest away from, well, from everything?
So to actually find this place, we need to wrap our heads around a special term, the pole of inaccessibility. Now, this isn't about how hard it is to get there, like climbing a mountain or anything. It's pure geometry. It's the one spot on a map that is the farthest you can possibly get from any coast, in any direction.
And, well, that whole idea leads us right here, to a place in the massive Pacific Ocean that's so remote its nickname is literally the point of nowhere. Welcome to Point Nemo.
Okay, so how remote are we really talking about here? Picture this. You're floating in the ocean, and in every single direction, there is nothing but water for 2,688 kilometers. That's over 1,600 miles. That's like going from New York City all the way to Dallas. You are truly, absolutely at the oceanic point of nowhere.
And you know what's really wild about this? This spot is a pretty modern discovery. It wasn't found by some ancient mariner on a wooden ship. Nope. It was calculated by a survey engineer in 1992 using computer software to find that one perfect spot.
So what's actually living out here? Well, because it's in the center of a giant, rotating ocean current called a gyre, all the good, nutrient-rich water gets pushed away. It's basically a biological desert. Life here is incredibly tough and super specialized. Mostly tiny microbes living near deep-sea volcanic vents, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see a tuna or a swordfish passing through.
But this spot has another kind of spooky job. Because it's the safest possible distance from any people, it's become the world's designated graveyard for spacecraft. Hundreds of old satellites and spaceships have been aimed right here to crash. And get this, even the International Space Station is scheduled to make its final plunge into these waters around 2031.
This quote just perfectly captures how isolated this place is. Just think about that for a second. If you were floating in a boat right at Point Nemo, the closest human beings to you wouldn't be on a ship or on an island. They'd be the astronauts in the ISS flying 400 kilometers straight over your head. Your nearest neighbors are literally in outer space.
Okay, so now let's pull back from the middle of the ocean and look at the very edges of the land. Let's see how this whole idea of remoteness works when you're talking about the farthest reaches of a continent.
All right, next up on our tour, Australia. Just like any continent, it's got its extreme points, the absolute farthest north, south, east, and west you can go. And as you can see, these aren't just dots on a map, they're real places, each one with its own vibe, its own challenges.
Here's the thing though, being an extreme point doesn't automatically mean you're in the middle of nowhere. Just compare Cape York up north, a super rugged, tough-to-get-to spot for serious off-roaders, with Cape Byron in the east. Cape Byron's a huge tourist destination, famous for its lighthouse. Both are extremes, but they couldn't be more different.
But extreme isn't just about lines on a map, right? It can be biological too. Which brings us to Iceland, a country that's extreme because of something it's missing. It's one of the only populated places on Earth with basically zero native mosquitoes. So, what's their secret?
It all comes down to Iceland's totally chaotic climate. See, a mosquito needs pretty stable conditions to grow from an egg to an adult, but Iceland's weather is famous for being all over the place, with sudden freezes and thaws that totally mess up the insect's life cycle. It just makes it impossible for a mosquito population to get a foothold.
Okay, we've been all over the Earth, but to really get a handle on what isolation means, we've got to look up. We have to leave our planet behind.
Just look at our closest neighbor, the Moon. It is a world of absolute extremes. It has almost no atmosphere, which means no weather and zero protection from meteorites. Its surface is just covered in craters from billions of years of impacts. And the temperatures? They swing from a blistering 130 degrees Celsius during the day to a mind-numbing minus 180 at night. A totally alien world, and it's right next door.
Now, let's shoot even further out, to the very edge of our solar system. The story of Pluto is fascinating because it shows how our view of these far-off places can totally change. When astronomers first looked for Planet X, they thought it was a giant, 7 times the mass of Earth.
But then, as our tools got better, the estimate just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So what happened? Well, once we figured out just how tiny Pluto really was, and we started discovering other similar-sized objects out there with it, its status had to change. In 2006, it wasn't a lonely ninth planet anymore. It was reclassified as a dwarf planet, becoming the biggest celebrity in a whole new neighborhood we just discovered, the Kuiper Belt.
All right, for our last stop, we're coming back home to Earth to check out one final kind of extreme. But this one's different. It's not about being empty or lonely. It's about a mind-blowing, concentrated amount of something. I mean, just look at this. Seriously. When you count up all the world's lakes that are bigger than 25 acres, 62% of them, more than half, are in one single country.
And this really drives the point home. The scale here is it's wild. Canada has almost 900,000 lakes of this size. That's more than 4 times as many as Russia, which comes in at a distant second place. It's an incredible concentration of fresh water.
So why? How is that even possible? Well, it's basically a gift from the last ice age. As these unimaginably huge glaciers scraped across the land and then melted away, they left behind millions of little dents and depressions. And all of those just filled up with water, creating the amazing lakeland we see today.
So what have we seen? We've gone from a spacecraft graveyard in the ocean to a land of almost 1 million lakes. We've seen that being extreme or remote can mean a lot of things. It can be a lack of people, a lack of life, or even a crazy, overwhelming abundance. It really leaves us with one final question to think about. In this super-connected world of ours, what does it truly mean to be remote?